Hey guys, we're the Pixelists, and we are talking today about the news that literally just broke, just literally under an hour ago, that Blizzard has fired their lead developer for Classic WoW. Now, if you're not familiar with Classic WoW, it's Classic World of Warcraft. It's a game that came out 20 years ago and was revived a few years ago and re-released much to fanfare. And unfortunately, it seems like their lead developer has been let go. It's pretty crazy news, Will.
Yeah, you just sent me this article. I just read it. I mean, it is crazy, but it doesn't surprise me. You and I have been talking about how Blizzard has just been going in the gutter for the last decade.
Blizzard just can't help themselves. That's kind of what my reaction is like, okay, who's really surprised about this? So yeah, it's just wild to me.
It really is. So, and Blake and I both grew up on Blizzard games. We both played the heck out of World of Warcraft. And so, like, Blizzard was close to our heart and souls growing up, and so it's just been so sad to see them.
And I've been talking a little bit about like it's like grown this cynicism in me of like the companies that I loved as a kid becoming like the enemy, like the villain. It's that old Batman quote. But how about for you guys who maybe haven't seen the news article? I'll read real quick the Bloomberg reported article on this. The guy's name is Brian Birmingham. He's the Classic lead developer for the game and has been for quite some time. He's also been a fairly communicative person on the team. There's not a lot. There's actually been a running joke about the Blizzard Classic team being like 4 people. And so he's like one of the only people who talk and open up like a channel of communication, like decisions being made. And all that to say, basically what he passed on to Bloomberg was that Blizzard implemented basically what's called a stack ranking system in 2021, which requires a certain number of employees to be given low reviews in order to create a bell curve. Though managers like Brian Birmingham argue that it creates unhealthy competition and erodes trust between team members, which we'll talk about here in a second. In an internal email reported by Bloomberg, Birmingham expressed his frustration, writing that quotas were often ignored. And another article said that he was able to get around this requirement for the last 2 years, but that he was now being forced to lower an employee's evaluation from successful to developing, a change which affected their profit sharing and it would have an adverse effect on their likelihood for promotion. He said, quote, "When teams are asked why we do this, the World of Warcraft directors explained that while they did not agree, the reasons given by executive leadership, probably Activision Blizzard, were that it was important to squeeze the bottom-most performers as a way to make sure everybody continues to grow," Birmingham wrote in the email. "This sort of policy encourages competition between employees. It sabotages one another's work and a desire for people to find low-performing teams that they can be the best-performing worker on. And it ultimately erodes trust and destroys creativity." Birmingham wrote that he refused to work at Blizzard until the company removed the stack ranking policy. "If this policy can be reserved, perhaps my Blizzard can be saved. And if so, I would love to continue working here. If this policy cannot be reversed, then the Blizzard Entertainment I want to work for doesn't exist anymore." And went on to say that Blizzard in turn terminated him for this feedback.
Wow.
So
let me throw this back at you and make sure I'm parsing it correctly. And everybody else can maybe get on the same page with me. So Blizzard has this policy in effect where essentially the managers, the bosses, whatever you want to call them, have to essentially rank their employees, and they can only give a certain amount of people like the good ranking.
Right.
Therefore, they are forced to give some people a bad ranking, even if they don't deserve it.
Yes, 100%.
So it's like a zero-sum. They've made it a zero-sum game for some reason.
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, this isn't super surprising because, like, all of us who like work in corporate America, like I guarantee you, like 70% of people who read this article were like, "Oh yeah, my boss is like that," like super familiar this corporate structure. It's kind of like I was talking to somebody who I was talking about his evaluation. He got his annual evaluation. And he was like, "Yeah, it really sucked because my boss said like I was, one of the best people on the team, yada, yada." And then they give like a 5-star ranking. And my boss was like, "Hey, I'm not allowed to give 5 stars. So I have to give you a 4. Even though he was like, but you just told me like I'm amazing. And it also, the reason he can't give 5 stars is because employees get a percent increase in their salary based on the star ranking that they get. And so it's very corporatized of like, let's watch our bottom line.
Right.
Let's make sure not too many people get 5 stars, or in this case, no one. So yeah, this just reeks of corporate stupidity that unfortunately a lot of us are familiar with. So
yeah, I mean, just corporate greed and just one of the, awful effects of capitalism. It's all about that next, revenue report, or got to increase it somehow. I don't know. This is like more of a not just Blizzard problem, but of course Blizzard is going to be doing like all the toxic, scummy things that they've just, continued to do for the last decade.
You would think that they'd be like, get a grip after like the whole like, sexually assaulting their women employees, and like, what was the news story about them like stealing their breast milk or something? Like,
I didn't even see that.
You didn't see that?
No.
They're, like, as pranks, they were like stealing their breast milk, and like it's just like weird, creepy, silly stuff. And so
they were the same ones that had the Bill Cosby thing, right? Like the Bill Cosby suite.
The Bill Cosby suite. It's also the same company where a woman was so badly harassed that she killed herself and was then sued by the family. Like, you would think they would deeply understand, like, hey, can we lay off a bit? And that's why I said, like, they just can't help themselves. Like, this is just, it's so silly to me. It blows my mind,
Yeah, me too. And I'm sorry, I don't know the guy's name, but what was
Brian
this guy?
Birmingham.
Good for him for like standing his ground and sticking up for his employees. I don't know if employees is the right word, but like the people under him.
Yeah, his team, his employees. Yeah, he leads the whole team, the whole development team. I mean, and think about how stupid this is for Blizzard too. Like, they have had a crazy talent churn in the last 5 to 8 years. I mean, let's go all the way back to like Hearthstone doesn't have any of the original developers on it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a game you play on your stream. None of the original developers are on it. WoW, I mean, they just made the news of someone coming back to the team, but Overwatch, Jeff Kaplan is gone. Like, there's no one on these teams anymore. And so you'd think they would get a clue of like, hey, our heart and soul of our team, our developers, like, let's keep these people. And yet, corporate stupidity.
Yeah, it seems like they haven't, and I don't think they will, honestly, but they haven't had that moment of realizing that like they're spiting the nose. What is that phrase? You cut the nose in spite of the face or whatever. I'm butchering it, but you know what I'm talking about. Like,
I know. Throughout the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah, same idea.
I don't know that one.
It's like you cut off your nose to spite your face or something.
Oh yeah.
The point is like you're only hurting yourself, and I don't think they've had that moment of realization where they don't understand that they're like ultimately tanking their company. Like they've been on the same trajectory, right? Which this doesn't surprise me, this story. And I imagine it's just we're going to keep seeing stuff like this because they haven't had that moment of like, oh, we got to shift things around and we're going to lose all of our customer goodwill. But like, it's kind of already happened.
Yeah. And maybe this is why I said I'm a cynic. I mean, I don't know if they ever will. Like, these companies are so rife with ego and just like unwavering clout of like, we're Blizzard, we've made the best game. I mean, I'm sure like whenever they announced Diablo 4, and I'm excited about Diablo 4. I'm going to play Diablo 4, I think, but I guarantee you there were executives as soon as they announced it who were like, oh, people are going to buy it no matter what game we create. And so like that ego of we're Blizzard, we could do no wrong. It's kind of like I see a lot of businesses, they get to the point where they shift from being so customer centric to our customers are idiots. They don't know any better. They're kind of obnoxious. And I think that's the Blizzard we have today. It's the whole, you think you do, but you don't. For classic WoW, which is possibly bigger than retail, and so like it just doesn't surprise me. And I just don't see them taking the feedback on this.
Yeah, I don't either. And this might be as like a blowing up the conversation to a level that we maybe shouldn't focus on right now. But I wonder if like, we'll use Blizzard as an example, since that's what we're talking about. If it is possible for a company like that to like get back to their glory days, or if it's just that's the natural progression of things in this society, and we're just going to have that new fledgling company that kind of, does things the right way until they get too big and the suits, come in.
I mean, I think that's definitely the case. I mean, it's like the Santa Monica Studios of the world, or I'm thinking about when we were kids and Blizzard was coming up. It was, EA Games was the bad guy. Now they're probably just excited that Blizzard like takes all the, all the trash from them. But I will say, and Will, I hope you don't mind this, but for you guys listening, I do have a podcast called the Good Advice Podcast. It's a business podcast, and we will talk more about this on that podcast. But just for you guys listening, if you're finding yourself kind of in the middle of this, in the sense of like you're not sure kind of what you think, which I would venture it probably isn't a lot of you. I will just say this: when it comes to like managing your people well, evaluating your people well, like it's wild to me how we've lost the human element. Like think about annual reviews for how silly these are. For example, like you meet with someone once a year to tell them how bad they are, instead of like giving them feedback in the moment or praising them in the moment, And so even like this whole stacked ranking things is incredibly stupid, because I think about like, if you have 10 salespeople and they all make you $1 million and one of them makes you $990,000, are you really going to penalize that guy on his commission?
Yeah.
Are you going to take that person, man or woman, whoever, and just say like, oh, sorry, yeah, you only get 1% as opposed to 5%? Like, it's stupid, but I guess, like I said, it's not surprising.
It just doesn't make sense. It's something, and I don't even know if it's fair to say it sounds good on paper. So, but just for the devil's advocate, let's say that type of system sounds good on paper. It just doesn't translate to the real world. Because like you said, like,
yeah,
that just, I don't know. You're going to lose that employee, and then you're going to have to hire somebody that actually is bad, and your numbers are going to suffer because of that. So
I would venture to guess there's some weird angle about, without something like this, you don't give legitimate feedback. Like this forces feedback. The issue is that sometimes people are just doing great on the team. Sometimes you just have an all-star team. And I think Brian Birmingham's comment on how it erodes trust and encourages competition, 100% correct. 100% correct. Because why would I help you with your project? Why would I help you when you're behind? And think about this. Development times are already, typically they go to development hell. Things get extended. It takes forever. Why would I help you and make you look better and potentially sacrifice my income? And I don't mean this like, sorry, guys. I don't mean this like in a manipulative way, like someone's a bad person. I'm talking about like if I'm worried about my mortgage, or like I got 4 mouths to feed, or what have you. Like at the end of the day, I'm watching after me, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not always going to have the bandwidth to give more to someone else.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's so silly that they tie it to profit sharing, because you're not really sharing profit. You're actually encouraging competition, which again is one of those things that like on paper, I'm sure there's a twist to it. Like competition makes everyone better, look how great it is with capitalism. And instead it's like, well, we're a team. But anyway, that's my rant, I guess, about all of it.
I'm with you. It also, on the other end of the spectrum, would kind of promote mediocrity, because, if like, well, I'm not going to get this stellar rating anyway, so I might as well coast at this base level because that's all that's going to matter to begin with. So
it's the same thing what happens when people are capped on the money they can make, like a salesperson is capped on their commission.
Yeah.
What they will do is they will stop selling once they reach that cap, and they'll push all their sales over to the next year. And I've seen certain bosses be like, well, that's dishonest. And it's like, no, they're doing literally what's best for them, which is what everyone does, you know? And so anyway, that it's totally wild to me as a WoW player. It's just another nail in the coffin, man. It's like, stop hurting this game that I desperately want to hold on to.
Yeah, so it's just sad to see. But again, good on him for sticking up for, what he believes in. And I'm sure he'll easily find another job, especially with this, which is going to be really good press for him. Not that it's about 100%. That, but I don't think he's going to have to worry about, his next paycheck.
100%. All right. Well, that's our thoughts on this whole thing. We want to know what you think about it. What's your take on it? Is this a nothing burger, or is this something to talk about? What's been your interaction with Blizzard, and where do we go from here? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear from you. And other than that, check out our channel. We got all sorts of other discussions and conversations, not just on topics like this, but also some of the stuff we love to watch and enjoy, from D&D to Blizzard to Marvel and all these other things. You can check out more on our channel. Thanks for checking us out today, and we'll catch you later. See ya.